Hello, and welcome to the Babe Bulletin podcast, where we talk self-love, empowerment, boudoir, and all of the things that make us feel like total babes. I'm Alicia, a body liberation boudoir photographer, and I want to share what I've learned about self-confidence with you. So I'm glad that you're here and that you're listening. Happy February. Happy Black History Month. Start of a new month. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling ready to get out of January. And I'm excited for today's topic because most of the time, the things that I talk about on here are stuff that, I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job with, right? I've been on my own self-love journey for like 8 years now at this point, where I've been really trying to focus on feeling better in my body and being nicer to myself. But this is one area where I still see a lot of room for growth. And I have a feeling a lot of you are going to feel the exact same way. So today we're going to talk about healing our relationship with food and what we can do so that we fuel our bodies the way that they need to be, but without guilt or shame. Because a lot of us have those feelings around food, myself included. And actually, I feel like it's meant to be that today is this topic, because I had a session today, and while I was waiting for my client to arrive, I pulled up Instagram and I was just scrolling, and like the first thing that I saw on my Instagram feed was a post from a follower of the Anti-Diet Kids Instagram. And this follower shared, "I was a Girl Scout for 11 amazing years. When I was around 10 years old, a grown woman told me she didn't want to buy any cookies from me, and from the looks of it, I should stop eating my own supply. I'm 38 now, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I doubt she ever thought about me after that moment, but as someone who struggled with eating disorders and toxic dieting my whole life, it's tattooed on my heart forever and can never be removed. No child should ever have to hear such hateful things." And I would love to say that that's a unique story, that really hasn't happened to anybody else, but I have a feeling every single person listening right now could recall some story of some adult saying something to them when they were a kid that kind of messed up their relationship with food, or at least made them think differently. Because little kids are not worried about calories or thinness or, what have you. But all it takes is one person to say something, and then that is like burned into your brain. And then as you're growing up, it just happens over and over and over again. It's not some person not buying cookies from you when you're 10. Now it's the girls in the middle school bathroom. Now it's a teacher in high school. Now it's friends during college. And it's the magazines that you see when you're checking out at the grocery store. It's the ads on television. It's just constant. People saying, you got to eat this and be scared of that and avoid this, and you're a bad person if you consume that. God, there's so much guilt around food. It's enough to, kind of drive you crazy. Like this stuff, this messaging really does have a huge impact on our mental well-being, and we gotta find ways to heal. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. It's definitely something that I'm still working on, and I know that it is essential to our overall well-being and self-acceptance when we work on that relationship with food. So let's explore some ways to cultivate a healthier and more positive relationship with food. Okay? My tip number 1 is to practice intuitive eating. Now, this is easier said than done. And I say that because this is something that I would really like to get better at. I think compared to where I was like 8 years ago, I've come a long way. But there is more work and investigating and thinking and feeling that I could do. Now, also, I want to preface this by saying I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a nutritionist. You got to do what's best for you and figure out what works for you and what doesn't. So don't take this as any kind of like medical advice. Far from it. These are just things that I have come across in my 8 years of self-loving and that journey that I have found to be helpful and that I think will be helpful for you as well. So practicing intuitive eating means that you are in a mindset where we are listening to our body's hunger and we are listening for fullness cues rather than following a strict diet or any kind of restriction. Now, what's important here is that you might not be in a place where you can practice intuitive eating yet, because maybe you have no idea what those cues even are. I don't think somebody, for example, with an eating disorder can just jump straight into intuitive eating. You got no idea what your body's hunger cues even are. So this might not be a jumping off point for some people. But if you are like, okay, yeah, I kind of get the mindfulness thing. I got a pretty good relationship with my body. I think I know what it wants and I can at least practice listening to it. And I feel pretty confident that I can listen to it. Then this might be a starting point for you. So when we intuitively eat, we do honor cravings. We eat when we're hungry and we stop when we're full. And by tuning into your body's signals and trusting its wisdom, you can actually develop a more intuitive and balanced approach to eating. And I know for some people you're hearing that and you're thinking, well, my body just wants Taco Bell all of the time. So if I start practicing intuitive eating, all I'm going to eat is Taco Bell. I think you should test that theory. Because by maybe day 3, you're like, I do not actually want Taco Bell. My body actually would really love a Caesar salad. That's what I really want. My body wants an apple. My body needs corn on the cob. You know, you might be needing something fresh. Because our bodies are smart. They know what they need. They know what they're craving. They know what they gotta have to fuel themselves. And again, if you're coming out of an eating disorder or you're in one now or any kind of disordered eating, this might be really hard to just jump right into because you got no idea how to read those cues. And you actually might be better off with a more structured form of eating. Like, okay, it's 8 a.m., it's breakfast time. Whether you're hungry or not, it's important that you eat food. That's something that you would need to talk to your doctor about because maybe a very structured form of eating would work for you. But otherwise, intuitive eating is a good direction to go as well because a lot of us have been not listening to our bodies or shaming our bodies when it wants something. And I think we got to tune in. We got to be a little more mindful about what we actually want and what we actually need. And that's the key too, right? What does your body need? Does it need vitamins right now? Does it need protein? Does it need fiber? What's going on? Oh, we've got a big, 5K. Yeah, maybe a carbo load a little bit. I don't know. You got to kind of listen to yourself and figure out what's going to make yourself feel the best. What's going to make you move the best. Study the best. Get through a work day as best as you can. It's going to be a little bit different for every single person. So I would look into intuitive eating if you are on a healing relationship with food. Definitely throw it into Google, see what you come across, do a little bit of reading. It's pretty great. It's very freeing, and it is something that I am still working on myself. We also need to challenge diet culture narratives when we are trying to heal the way that we feel about food because diet culture is constantly bombarding us with messages that equate thinness to worthiness. And it promotes very restrictive eating habits. There's a reason that dieting fails 95% of the time, and it's because of the restriction. When we challenge these harmful narratives by educating yourself about the flaws of diet culture, and you surround yourself with like body positive content, for example, you're gonna start to see that you're gonna think differently about food. When we reject diet culture, we can embrace a more compassionate and accepting attitude towards ourselves and towards other people. And that is a pretty sweet goal to have, in my opinion. Tying back to intuitive eating, we mentioned mindfulness for a second. So what exactly does that mean? Well, when we mindfully eat, we are paying attention to like the sensory experience of eating, like taste, texture, and aroma of food. You're really thinking about the food that you're eating. We're slowing down. We are savoring each bite. And we are really enjoying the food that we're eating. It helps you develop a deeper sense of connection to your food. And again, this is something that I could definitely work on myself. 9 times out of 10, I am not thinking about the food that I'm actually eating. I'm thinking about like the TV show that I'm watching or something like that. And I think it would be detrimental to say, okay, from now on, I'm going to practice mindful eating and I'm just going to sit and I'm going to think about the food and that's it. You know, going from one to the other, that's a pretty big swing. But I could see myself saying, all right, 1 day a week, we're going to really think about the meal that I'm cooking and eating. 2 days a week, I'm going to sit down at the table instead of in the living room by the TV, and I'm going to really enjoy the food that I just spent like 30 minutes or an hour cooking. I want to really enjoy this. What does it taste like? What does it smell like? What does it look like? Practicing mindful eating, it helps you become more attuned to your body's hunger and fullness signals as well, because when we're not distracted by a TV show, you're a little more aware that, oh, I'm getting full now. Okay. I am satisfied. I don't need to eat anymore. Or maybe you finish your plate and you're like, actually, I'm not satisfied. I am going to go and get more mashed potatoes because that is what my body is telling me I need. Great. It leads to a more balanced and satisfying relationship with food. Which, let's be real, I could use. And maybe you could too. I find it also to be really, 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 really important to seek support and professional guidance if you need it. This is a challenging journey, and it's okay to seek support along the way. So reach out to a registered dietitian, find a therapist, find a counselor who specializes in intuitive eating or body positivity, because these professionals can provide personalized guidance. Like I said, what I'm saying might not work for everybody. So you might need to find someone who can really work with you and give you the support that you need in order to navigate your food-related challenges and develop healthier habits. Intuitive eating might not be for you, and a dietitian or a therapist can walk you through that and help you come up with a game plan that would be best for you. And at the end of the day, what I really want you to practice is self-compassion. Just be gentle with yourself. Understand that there's no, line that you finally cross and go, woohoo, I did it. I'm done. I never have to think about this ever again. It is kind of an ongoing thing. Those scars on your heart from stuff that maybe you heard when you were a little kid, those might always be there. So be compassionate with yourself as you are on this journey with food. And remember that beating yourself up over your food choices or your body size, it really only perpetuates the narrative that, you need to change in order to be worth anything. It's going to completely negate and undermine your progress. So practice some self-compassion by treating yourself with kindness, understanding and accepting that, no matter where you are, we are on a journey and you're doing your best. Okay? Keep that in mind, right? Healing your relationship with food, it's a really essential part of cultivating self-love and body acceptance. I don't see it really being possible to create a stronger relationship with your body if you are perpetually guilting and shaming yourself for the food you consume. Those two things just aren't going to fit together very well. You kind of need one to do the other. And I'm not saying that you're not going to have bad days, because you will. The guilt and the shame, it creeps in. It's not going to be gone forever. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. It's just how it goes. But when we practice intuitive eating, when we challenge diet culture, when we think mindfully about the food that we're eating, when we seek support and we practice self-compassion, then you're able to take more steps forward. And we get to develop this like really fulfilling relationship with food. You get to find joy in food again. Joy, like food is such a joyful, wonderful, amazing thing. And we overlook a lot of really cool aspects of it when we are really, really strictly following like calories in, calories out. We forget that, man, the food that I eat with my friends when we go and hang out, that food has meaning and purpose. The banana bread that I make with my mom has meaning and purpose. When I see my grandma, she like always has a pan of monkey bread ready to go for me. And I would miss out on that if I wasn't trying to heal the way I feel about all foods. Does it mean I'm going to live off of monkey bread for the rest of my life? No, because my body would not function very well. But it's a treat that I can enjoy when I see her, and it means a lot to me when I do. When we have a relationship to food that's about nourishing ourselves, then we get to explore all of these other elements. The joy, the fun, the fanciness, whatever it may be. We get to really enjoy these things and not be scared of them anymore. Isn't that great? That's what I want for you. That's what I want for me. So hopefully as I went through these tips, you heard a couple that you were like, yep, that resonates with me. I'm going to give that a whirl. I'm going to look that up. I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper and see if there's something that works for you. All right? I have a new segment for the podcast, but before I jump into that, I just want to remind you that, hey, if you want to help out the podcast or the Buxom Boudoir studio, here is how you can do just that. Please rate and review this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Ratings really help us move up the charts and get more people thinking about self-empowerment. We can spread the self-love around, and that's a great way to do it. You can also find Buxom Boudoir on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok, and all of those are going to be linked in the episode description so that you can find them really easily. And, of course, if you're interested in booking a boudoir session, then head to buxomboudoir.com and let's chat. Okay, I need your help coming up with a segment name, but I want to give you like a tip, like a babe tip. Something that I am doing that I find really helpful. I'm going to workshop some names, but if you have an idea, please leave it in the comments. My tip, all right, is no phone Sunday. On Sunday, I try to not use my phone, which means no social media, really no like texting. I only use it to play music, and that's about it. And if I can, I'll leave it in a different room. I try to keep it in my bedroom, plugged in, and not touch it. I have a kind of a social media addiction. I spend way too much time on there, more than I would like. And it cuts into like my productivity, and it cuts into just honestly just me feeling good about myself, because I'll spend, an hour, maybe even 2 hours scrolling, and like the stuff that I'm seeing is just not always great for my mental health, to be honest. You end up kind of doom scrolling and just getting so much information in such a short amount of time that I feel like my brain is melting out of my skull, and then I do not feel good. And I used to think that, well, checking social media, that's fun. That's connection. I get to engage with the people that I know, and I want to see them and talk to them. And I thought it was like a form of self-care, and now I'm realizing, ooh, no, it's not. It's really not beneficial at all. So for me, putting my phone away on Sunday is how I take a break from all of that noise, and I get to actually end up doing other things because I'm not so glued to my phone. I don't always do it perfectly. I have certainly had no phone Sundays where I do end up checking social media, or, well, I do, hop on Facebook for a little bit. But, it's helped me feel so much better on Sundays. This last Sunday, I reorganized my pantry and I installed a water filter under my sink, and I was extremely proud of myself. I felt so good about that. I've never done, water filter installation before, and now I know how. And I learned a lot. Like, you need plumber's tape. That's important. So, I learned a new skill and I didn't need my phone. I didn't need to be glued to my phone the whole day. And I ended up feeling a lot better at the end of the day. So there's my tip. Try, if you are like me, and you are just on your phone so much. Again, I don't think going from like, I use my phone so much to I'm just not going to touch it at all anymore, except for when I absolutely need it. That you're setting yourself up for failure. Let's be real. We can't just jump from one extreme to the other. But try no phone Sundays with me. See if you like it. It doesn't mean you can't ever check it. I will pop in and occasionally look and see if like someone texted me that I needed to get back to, but most of the time, no. I really don't need to be on my phone as much as I am. And no phone Sundays is kind of the break that I am giving my brain. And it feels really good at the end of the day. I feel a little bit lighter, a little bit freer, a little bit happier. So I would recommend checking that out. I would recommend doing it. Join me. Join me on the no phone Sundays, all right? Well, thank you again for listening. And I will leave you with what I always leave you with, which is the reminder that your body is a good body and you deserve to be kind to yourself. Okay, bye.